Hey y'all, before I start driving, I'm running an errand. I wanted to start doing reaction videos to supernatural videos. So I just randomly picked near death experiences. And so I'll make the video is actually kind of long. So I'm just going to watch 15 minutes of it and I'll come back and do like a part 2 and part 3. And yeah, so here we go.
Circle bed, and my body was in that circle bed in like a bubble and crying hysterically. And then I looked out into the blackness and there was another bubble, and in it was me at about a year old, face down in my crib crying just as intensely. And I kept looking back and forth between the two scenes because I was, obviously confused. And about the third time I looked back and forth, it hit me. There was a very strong presence of this being that was an energy or a force, certainly not an old man with a long white beard, but an energy that just moved through me and was still it, that was just pure love. If you took the love I felt for my grandmother and you multiplied it by about 1 million, maybe that you could get the intensity of this love. It was very warm and very, it held me up. Bad. I had been an atheist until that moment. But as I realized that, then the baby in the crib became the center of a cloud of bubbles. And in the cloud of bubbles, in each bubble, there was another scene from my life. And I bounced through all these bubbles, and I re-experienced my life. And I re-experienced everything, including what the other people in the bubble experienced too. I mean, I wasn't just re-experiencing it as myself, but I was my mother and my dad and my brother and my boyfriend who went on to become my husband, and then my kids. I was them as well as me, and I could feel the love, and I could feel the negative times too. I could feel everything that was going on.
And as I looked opposite from my body, looked up into the tunnel, there I saw light. The light was so bright that it was brighter than 10,000 suns. And I immediately said, this should be burning my retinas. But it wasn't. It was a gentle but powerful light. It was pulling me. It was pulling me like a gentle magnet, closer and closer. And the closer I got, the more I was filled with an ecstasy, with a love, with an unconditional love of me as Andy. And as I got closer to the light, all of a sudden, I popped into a giant sphere. It was there. And all around me, at all parts of the sphere, up, down, sideways, left, right, all over, were miniature motion pictures of my lives and what was going on. And I could see, I could touch, I could feel, I could sense every emotion that was taking place in all of those lifetimes. And when I would concentrate on one, I would immediately be there. I would be reliving what I had lived, and I would remember the reliving. And then I would think about another area, and then I'd pop into another movie. And I would do this for some period of time, but you have to understand that when you're in the eternal now, time doesn't make any sense. So it isn't time like yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's happening all the time, all at once. And I was there for an extended period using earth terms. And then
Okay, I just want to come in and say this, that I'm listening to these because they're entertaining, they're interesting, and so it's not for everybody to take what these people are saying and just running with it. I mean, we don't know what really happened. We don't know if it was we don't know certain things, but they're just interested to listen to it. Plus, I feel like I had a near-death experience, and I will share that in the future. But I want to come in and say that this is purely for entertainment, and it's interesting to know what people have experienced if they had like a passing away experience, And so just to get people's perspective on what they've seen and what happened and things like that. So that's what this is for. So just some interesting stories. So I'll let it continue.
Then all of a sudden I popped out of the sphere, and now I'm in front of the light. And the light is so warm and so glowing and so forgiving. And the light had no judgment. There was no condemnation.
is rushed up too. And all of the pain that I'd caused everyone in my entire life came with it. And God said to me, I know everything about you, and there is nothing hidden. And in that knowing that I was known, I experienced a life review of all the people that I had hurt in my life. I experienced all of the pain that I'd ever given to every single person of my entire life. I didn't look at their pain. I lived their pain. And it was the pain that I gave them intentionally and the pain that I didn't even know that I had given them. And I remember that my sister Cynthia, who had not run away, was prominent in this, because Cynthia was very close to me in age, and Andrea was older than me. And so Cynthia and I, we tussled a lot. And I caused her an immense amount of pain. And I describe it now as hell, because it was so much suffering. I suffered so much suffering that I had given away, intentionally and unintentionally. And I judged myself as guilty and shameful. And it was everything that I'd ever done from the moment of my birth to intend and not intend to hurt. And I conceive, because I'm a Christian minister, I conceive of that as sin now. The pain that I gave to people. And meanwhile, as I was going...
Y'all have to ignore me. I do have an extra person in the car, so we're kind of talking about where we're going and things like that. And I also want to say that most of these videos, one thing that I have noticed is that they always talk about either a light of pure love, or there's a being of just pure love, no condemnation. And they always talk about a life review as kind of a steady in the near-death experiences that I hear about. So I'll let it continue.
To this experience of self-judgment, the voice was saying to me, I know you. I've always known you. You are my creature. I made you. I make you. I love you as you are. I have always loved you. I loved you into being. I love you with all the pain you caused, and I love you without it. I love all of you. And none of this is a surprise to me. I know this about you already. And because I felt shame at my actions, in comparison with the infinity of love, I judged myself guilty, and I was forgiven. Jesus talks about the kernel and the chaff gets burned off in the fire, sort of like that. And then all of the pain was gone, and I was left with only love and beauty and joy and truth and hope and compassion, all one thing. And I got to bring with me into heaven all of the love that I'd ever given away and all of the love that was ever given to me. And that was the treasure of myself.
Then it was this feeling of playfulness. And I said, well, what are we going to do now? And our communication was like telepathic. It was words I could hear, but it wasn't with using my mouth or anything, so there wasn't the physical stuff. So anyway, what I said was, well, what are we going to do now? And God said, well, we're going to look at the life that you just left. And I thought, oh, something serious. Okay. And there appeared, like off to the left, it looked like a TV screen. And God had control of the remote. And what was going to start playing was my life that I just left. And so as I began to watch this, I then became involved in it in a completely different way than just one-dimensional watching it. I was part of it. I was reliving also the person I was involved with, whatever interaction. And so what was happening was we were stopping at significant learning events in my life. And the one in particular that made the most impact on me, and this is also would be called, this whole thing is called a life review. So this is what this was around when I was around 14 years old. My grandmother lived with us, with my parents and me, and my grandmother lived in the house all together. And she had my bedroom. My bedroom was given to her. And I was kind of a spoiled brat at that time in my life, which is a little bit typical.
Yeah, I'm about to eat this donut. Just for the people that are following my weight loss, this is the 3 days eating what I want. So I'm eating the donut. And I am pretty much eating vegetarian, you know. So won't be saying vegan anymore because I am going to, donuts, you know, they make it with eggs and probably milk and all that stuff. So anyway, back to the video.
Typical of a lot of young teenagers. But anyway, I didn't like that she had my room. And anyway, this one day she came walking out of it and she fell. She walked with a cane and she was unsteady. She fell down and so hard that she dented the wall that she hit. And oh my gosh, as I think of it now, I mean, the force, it must have hurt her so bad. And at that time, I only thought of myself and I laughed at her. It was awful to relive this from a completely different perspective. I felt her pain and, you know, how she felt towards me. But really, it was me who was hard on myself, just thinking what a horrible, spoiled brat teenager, only thinking of herself and not about anybody else. And oh my goodness. So I just thought I was the worst person. And God had to really ask me some questions, you know, like, what did you learn from this now? And we really talked about this a lot, and I stayed for a long time being hard on myself, and we really had to work through it. But we got to the end of it, and I got to accept the idea that this was an okay thing. It's really, being on earth is a series of learning experiences. And through this, I became a way more compassionate person. And so there were other events that we looked at and I re-experienced in a way more broad view. And I also discovered that God has a sense of humor, because we chuckled at some of the events that we looked at. And that was very relieving to me. God is not or in my experience of all this, not judgmental in any way at all.
And they were all moving, kind of dancing, and and the movement of all these fragments of light looked to be like it was of one mind. They were all in union together. Well, as I got closer, 3 fragments broke away and they came toward me and they started greeting me. And they were welcoming me home. They were welcoming me home. And I recognized them as family. Now, I told you I didn't really have my family was, I never really had a sense of family in life. But these light beings, I recognized them. I recognized them as my soul family. And eventually 12 of them came and greeted me, welcoming me back. And it was so.
And I want to say this, it's very interesting how everybody has different experiences, like different near-death experiences. They see different things, they review different things. It's interesting to me.
We moved further into the light together, and we started to experience a life review. And in the life review, I got to see everything in my life, not only from my perspective, but everyone I'd ever interacted with from their perspective. I got to see their anger, I got to see their frustration, I got to see their love. And so it was like my consciousness had fragmented into these multiple streams of consciousness, multiple streams of consciousness. And I was experiencing my life in its entirety over again. And I got to see things that, well, like I said, I was a brash young man. I was a street tough. And I did a few things I wasn't too proud of. And my soul family were in this experience with me.
I wanted to stop at 15 minutes on the video, but I'm going to watch this last story and then I'll do a second part because this video is like an hour long. So it's almost hours, like 52 minutes. So let this play.
And they were experiencing it the same way I was. And so some of the unsavory parts of my life I wasn't too proud of, and I was a little ashamed that they had to experience this. But they just loved me. They just loved me and supported me. In fact, if anything, they were excited to be able to experience this part of my life. I started seeing parts of my life that I didn't have a foundation to. In other words, I'd went past my death and into my future life. I didn't realize what it was at the time.
Life review is so interesting to me. The fact that we're like, it feel like we're being surveillance. Like we're being surveillance all of our lives. Even the things that we think nobody sees, like is being watched. So it's interesting that you literally, like, you're not getting away with anything, even the good things and the bad things. Like, you're not getting away with anything because everything is surveillance. So the fact that these people are actually able to watch their lives, even as like small kids, is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. It makes me think about like we forget a lot of things. The older I am, there's a lot of things I forgot, unless it's something big that happened in my life. I forgot it. So it's crazy that life review, that is so crazy to me.
But I knew I didn't have a foundation. It wasn't anything that I had lived, but I started seeing my future. It was a little different though, because in the life review itself, I saw everything. It was so crystal clear. All the ripples. Whenever I did something with loving intention, that created the biggest ripples of after effects. It would just expand and expand. And when I started moving forward past my life into my future, it was a little different. It was like I was looking down a corridor. I like to think of it now as a corridor of potential that I had agreed to certain things in my life that I would accomplish. And they were in that core corridor, in that central corridor. But then the way to get to those circumstances, the way to get to those moments in life, there was some haziness on the sides. In other words, I could kind of go this way, or I could go this way in order to get to where I had agreed to go.
As I continued to marvel at this and wonder what was happening to me, I started drawing towards this light that had such presence and such love to it. And as I started moving towards it, or it moving towards me, there was no reference point to understand who was doing what. I had what many people have called a kind of a life review, and the review for me were events in my life that really defined who Jim was, who I feel my sense of self is, my sense of self-esteem and identity. And most of them were around places I've struggled and been stuck with. And as I experienced an event, it seemed to resolve in my mind and would disappear, and another event would emerge. And with each disappearance, the light got brighter and brighter and brighter. And eventually, I began to feel as if I was actually on the edge and then being enveloped by the light. And I felt my legs filling with this light, this presence, this love, this infinite unity, acceptance, absolutely no judgments. All the judgments I had entertained in the life review were mine. And as I let them go, I actually was able to release closer and closer to this light.
It was all brilliant light. And it didn't burn your eyes. It's not like staring at the sun where you can't look for very long and then you have to look away. This was a brilliant light that you could look at and you wanted to stay there. You were drawn to it. And I remember the love, the forgiveness, the truth. Truth was known, knowledge was known. Everything was going to be okay. That was the message at all times to me. The Christ, when he arrived, immediately started what near-death experiencers call as a life review. And for me, how mine worked was, it was like a screen, and on the screen were pictures of people's faces. And these people were the people that I had had interaction with throughout my entire lifetime. And whatever I had caused that person to feel as a result of my interaction with them, that's what I felt for a brief second, very intense. Whether it was we had a good interaction or we had a bad interaction, I felt that intensity, and then it kept rolling, just fast as could be, just lightning fast of people's faces. But yet I comprehended everything that was going on. Time has no meaning. The time that I was there by earthly terms was 4 hours, but it seemed like I was there only a few seconds. But time has no meaning there. The next thing, the Christ asked me, he said, "What did you learn from seeing all of these faces?" And I said to him that love was the best choice. And he said, "You're right." And I saw how I had to be careful how I treated people.
All right, y'all. I'm going to end it right there. The video stopped at 17 minutes and 5 seconds. Going on to other stories. So I just wanted to share that because I love watching stuff like this. And it's crazy that a lot of people are not crazy. I don't know why I keep using that word, but it's interesting that people acknowledge that there is a light and there is pure love. Like there's no judgment. There's nothing. It's nothing but pure love. We don't even know what that feels like really down here. And also, like, we can argue all day about religion and debate about it, but really the truth will be revealed once we actually pass away. We really don't know everything that we think we know. Even Christians, we don't know everything that we think we know. We don't know everything that we think that we know. But once you pass away, you're going to know everything. Everything is going to be totally revealed to you. That's how I feel. And that's what was when I had my near-death experience. I'll kind of share it briefly. And I've never really shared this with anybody. But I had I should do this video on its own. I'm a do an outro to this one, and I'll come back and share my experience. So stay tuned. I'll put that video up next. So y'all be blessed.